Good afternoon with Newsline Weather, I'm Chris Tatarian. Well, we saw rain again yesterday and don't expect it to change that much until the weekend. Right now in Brandon, we are sitting under a cloudy sky at 4 degrees with a 70% chance we continue to see rain and winds coming from the north at 15 kilometers an hour. This evening the temperature will fall, bringing us down to 3 degrees, but thankfully the chance of precipitation will also follow suit and drop down to 40. Winds will continue out of the northwest at 15 kilometers an hour. And overnight, the temperature should stay at roughly 3 degrees and the winds will stay coming out of the northwest at 15 kilometers an hour. Taking a look at our satellite image now, you can see large precipitation cells coming northeast across the border. These cells are going to pass right over us, likely bringing with them some wet weather. And turning to our radar image, as you can see, there are a few smaller cells of precipitation continuing to move east, which will probably be a contributing factor in the rain we will have in the few coming days. Taking a look at our 3-day forecast now, Thursday will likely be getting more rain with a 70% chance of precipitation, a high of only 3 and a low of 0, and winds will be out of the northwest at 10 kilometers an hour. Friday will be a cool one with a high of only 1 and a low of -1, but hopefully the raining will be done as we are expecting only a 30% chance of precipitation coming from a variably cloudy sky. And Saturday will kick off our weekend with a nicer high of 3 and a low of -2, with an even lower percent chance of rain at 20. Winds will be out of the northwest at 15 kilometers an hour, but we will be getting sunny skies for the first time all week. Taking a look around the region now, Winnipeg is in at 7, Portage is 3, Dauphin 6, Neepawa, Carberry, Killarney, Minnedosa, and Verdun are all at 4. Seasonal norms for this time of the year are a high of 0 and a low of -10, so regardless of how bad this weather feels, we're still sitting a little bit above average. Records in Brandon on this date are a high of 15 degrees set back in 1998 and a record low of -10 set a few years back in 2007. Once again in Brandon, it's 4 degrees under a cloudy sky with rain on its way. That's all for weather. Stay tuned. Charles is up next with sports.
Good afternoon for Newsline Sports. I'm Charles Tweed. The Brandon Wheat Kings continued their western road trip last night with a stop in Portland to take on the Winterhawks. After spotting the Hawks a 4-1 lead, the Wheaties got back into it with a pair of late second period goals from 20-year-old Jay Fair. Braden Shen scored just a minute into the third period to tie it up, but unfortunately that's as close as Brandon would get. After a scoreless overtime, the Wheat Kings succumbed to the Hawks in a shootout. Final score, Portland 5, Brandon 4. And the Wheat Kings won't have to wait long to right the ship, however, as they continue their road trip tonight in Spokane, taking on the 5-4-1 Chiefs. Staying in the West, 3 games on the docket in the NHL last night as the Detroit Red Wings snapped a 3-game slide in Vancouver with a victory over the Canucks. Jason Williams' power play goal with just over 5 minutes left in the third lifted the Wings to a 5-4 victory at GM Place. There was a scary moment in the second period when Canucks forward Ryan Johnson was taken off the ice in a stretcher. He crashed heavily into the end boards and was later brought to hospital for observation. In Edmonton, Milan Hajduk scored just 25 seconds into Colorado's 3-0 win over the Oilers. Wojtek Wolski added a pair of third-period goals to support Craig Anderson's second shutout of the season. After the game, the Oilers confirmed defenseman Ladislav Smid had been diagnosed with H1N1. And wrapping up the NHL schedule, the Capitals extended their winning streak despite spotting the Philadelphia Flyers a 2-0 lead. Alexander Semin scored the tie-breaking goal in the third period as the Caps downed the Flyers 4-2. Philly's lead evaporated when Alex Ovechkin and Nicklas Backstrom scored just 2 minutes apart late in the second period. And I'm sure Philadelphia fans will take a Flyers loss if it'll mean a Phillies win tonight in New York. However, there could be more soggy weather in the Bronx for Game 1 of the World Series tonight. Meteorologists say there's a 30% chance of showers for the opener between the Phillies and the Yankees. Cliff Lee, Pedro Martinez, and Cole Hamels are the Phillies' scheduled starters for the first 3 games, while the Yankees will counter with CC Sabathia, AJ Burnett, and Andy Pettitte. And Brent, that's all the time we have for sports.
Okay, Charles, a busy night last night in the world of sports, and from what I understand, another busy one this evening.
Absolutely. The Wheat Kings aren't going to have to wait long to get back in the win column. And of course, I think what everybody's looking forward to is a big World Series game tonight.
Certainly can't beat the Fall Classic going on, of course, in the Bronx, which always adds to the atmosphere. Who are you taking tonight?
I like Phillies bats, but I just think CC's going to be too much for the Phillies to handle.
Well, that's going to put a wrap on our Wednesday edition of Westman Newsline. Be sure to rejoin us tomorrow here on Brandon's only TV newscast, Westman Newsline. Goodbye for now.